Hello, so I wanted to do a video today on finding the circumference of a circle. So a few things that you need to be comfortable with before you have a go at doing these questions. Rounding is really important, as is substituting into a formula, and also you need to know the different parts of a circle. So as a bit of a recap of that last bit, the different parts of a circle, because it's really important. The circumference of a circle is the distance all the way around the outside of that circle, so all the way around there. The radius of the circle is the distance from the centre to a point on the circumference of that circle. Now that point on the circumference could be anywhere around, so what's drawn is a radius, that's a radius, that's a radius, obviously a straight line, but the point from the centre to the circumference. The diameter goes from one point on the circumference to another point, but it must go through the centre. If it doesn't go through the centre, it's not a diameter, it's what we call a chord. Okay, so there is quite an important relationship between the radius and the diameter, because you can imagine if I draw a radius on this second diagram from one point on the circumference to the centre, and then I did that again the other side, you can see that the diameter is the same as 2 radii. So if I've got a radius and I want a diameter and I need the diameter, you would just times it by 2. If you've got the diameter and you want the radius, you're going the other way, you just need to divide that by 2. And that's really important for some of the questions on finding the circumference of a circle. So here is a circle, and we are given in this case, the diameter, the distance from one point on the circumference to the other, and I haven't drawn it on here, but it goes through the centre of that circle, and that distance is 8.2 kilometres. So you also need to know the formula for the circumference of a circle. Now that formula is circumference equals pi multiplied by the diameter. So all we're going to do is substitute some values in, but before we do that, this pi is just a number. It's a horrible number. It's what we call an irrational number. It goes on and on and on forever. So pi equals 3.1412, and it goes on and on forever. Your calculator will do that for you though. So just because that symbol might look unfamiliar, please don't panic. It is just a number. Okay, so to find the circumference of this circle, the distance all the way around the outside, all I'm going to do is pi multiplied by, I want you to check, because you won't always be given the diameter. Sometimes you might be given the radius, and that's really important. Remember, if you are given the radius, you need to double it first to find the diameter. In this case, this 8.2 that we've been given is the diameter, so we're just going to do pi multiplied by 8.2. Now when you use your calculator, pi is the button at the bottom here, just the middle of the 5 buttons. Just above that, there's in yellow, on this calculator anyway, there's a little pi. To get that, you're going to press shift and then that button there, and we're going to multiply it by 8.2, press equals. In your calculator, you might get given an answer like this. To turn it into a decimal, just above the delete button, there's this S to D button. If you press that, and we're going to give our answer to 1 decimal place, which in this case is 25.8. So the circumference equals 25.8. Don't forget your units. In this case, your units are kilometres. That's it. That's it for the first example. Okay, let's do another example. This time you are given a circle and you are told what the circumference of that circle is. So I'm just going to start with the same formula, circumference equals pi times diameter. Now again, we're being asked to find the diameter here, and we're told that the circumference is 28.3 meters. So I'm just going to substitute into the formula the information that I've been given. We know that the circumference of this circle is 28.3 meters. In our calculation, we don't need to put the units. And we know that is pi multiplied by the diameter. So remember, pi is just a number. So what I've done on the right hand side here is 3.14159, and it goes on forever, multiplied by a number gives me 28.3. So I want to undo this multiplying by pi bit, because then I've just got the diameter on its own on one side of the equation. So I'm going to divide the right hand side by pi, but remember, when I do that, I need to do the same to both sides of an equation. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 28.3 divided by pi. Remember, this a fraction is a division that has not yet been completed. So that's the correct way of writing divided by pi. 28.3 divided by pi is equal to my diameter. So if I just go back to my calculator, 28.3 divided by pi, press equals, you get 9 to one decimal place 9.0. So 9.0 meters. Now this is our final answer. We're going to put our unit in, is equal to the diameter of that circle. Again, if the question asks to find you the radius, you'd first need to work out the diameter like we've just done there, but then you'd need to half your answer. It might also be worth mentioning that it might be a good habit to get into, especially when the math gets more difficult, of using this fraction button rather than the divide button. So 28.3, and then we're dividing that by pi, press equals, you get the same answer. Okay, that's it. That's example 2. Let's do a third example here. So you are given a semicircle. Now a semicircle is half a circle. You might sometimes be given a quarter of a circle, but this one is a semicircle. If you imagine it was a whole circle first, what we've then done is, well, we'd need to find the circumference of that circle. So and the diameter of this circle is the distance from one side through the other, from one point of the circumference to the other through the center, which we've been given here. So that's 13.2 meters. So I'm just going to start by finding the circumference of that circle. Pi multiplied by 13.2. So the circumference of that whole circle is just going to be pi times 13.2, press equals, and S to D. Because this is not my final answer, I'm going to write out the whole thing. Because if you round midway through your calculation, your final answer becomes less accurate. So I'm just going to write out, I'm going to do it on my actual calculator so that I don't have to keep switching between them. 13.2. That gives me 41.46902,303, and that would be meters. That's the distance around the whole circle. So once I've done that, that would give me the distance around the whole circle. However, I didn't want that. I wanted the difference around half of the circle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the number, by 2, and that would give me what's called the arc length, this distance around here. So dividing 41.46 and so on by 2, that gives me 20.73451151 meters. So what I've got there is this measurement here. Once you've done that, a lot of people think they've got the final answer, but the perimeter of the shape is the distance all the way around it. So because I found the distance of the circumference of the whole circle and halved it, I've only got this arc length, and I need to remember that I also want this length here. So once you've done this, you then need to add the 13.2. So in my calculator, if I divided this by 2 first, and that gives me that 20.73. I'm then going to add 13.2, which is the diameter of that circle, and to 1 decimal place that gives me 33.9 meters. That is the perimeter, the distance around the outside of that semicircle. Okay, that's that one. Final example. This is a combination of all the different kind of questions that we've kind of looked at so far. So this is a quarter of a circle and a semicircle, and I want the distance around the whole of that shape. So there's actually 3 parts to this question. I first want to find out, I'll colour code this one. I first want to find out this length, and then I want to find out this length here, and then at the end I'll need to add this length here, because that is the perimeter, the distance around the whole shape. So starting with the red arc length, that is quarter of a whole circle. So I'm going to start by drawing out the whole circle. Now this is the center of that circle. So if I mark the center on there, and we are given this length here, this 2.4. That 2.4 kilometers goes from the center to a point on the circumference, therefore it is a radius. Remember, I need to use pi times diameter to work out the circumference of a circle. So the diameter of, whilst the radius is 2.4 kilometers, the diameter is going to be 2.4 times 2, which is 4.8 kilometers. You need to watch out for those, because those sorts of questions come up all the time. So the circumference of this whole circle, red circle, is going to be pi multiplied by 4.8. So if I do that in my calculator, pi times 4.8, that gives me, again, I'm going to write this out in full because I've not completed the question yet. So this is 15.07964474. That's the whole circle. I have quarter of a circle here. That arc is quarter of the way round the circle. So I'm now going to divide that by 4. And that tells me the length of the red arc, 769911184, and that's in kilometers. So that length here, 3.7699 kilometers. So that's that length there. I'm going to leave that written out in full. Now I'm going to do this semicircle, the blue one. So I'm going to draw out the full circle, and you need to start by thinking, what length have I been given? Because that is a semicircle, this length here is the radius of the bigger circle. This length here is also the radius of the bigger circle. Sorry, sector I should say. So that radius is the diameter of the smaller sector of a circle. So that length there is 2.4 kilometers. So we have actually been given the diameter of that circle. So I'm going to use the formula again. Instead of D, I'm going to use 2.4. So in my calculator, I'm doing pi times 2.4. No, press the wrong button. Pi times 2.4. And that gives me pi times 2.4 in my calculator, 7.539822369. That's the distance around the whole circle. However, I've only been given a semicircle in my original question, so I need to divide this bit by 2. And that gives me, if I divide that by 2, 3.7699111184. So that length is this length here, which is actually the same as this length here, that because rather than finding a quarter of the circle, you're finding half the circle, but that sector is half as big. So once you've got those two lengths, we now have the red arc length and we have the blue arc length. So now we just need to add this length on here, which is the radius of that bigger circle. So that's 2.4. So I need to add this length, and 2.4. So I'm doing 3.7699111184. Add 3.7699111184. Add 2.4. And if I put that into my calculator, I get the total perimeter of that shape. This is now our final answer, so I can now round this. I'm going to round it to 1 decimal place. 9.9. Don't forget your units. We were, in this case, in kilometers. So that there is your final answer for the perimeter of that shape, 9.9 kilometers. Okay, so that's all the examples. I do have another one of my question generators. So this one, they're increasingly more difficult, question 1, 2, 3 and 4. When you open this file, you must make sure you click enable content in a yellow ribbon at the top. You can get as many questions as you need, the answers one at a time or all at once. If you would prefer to try a particular type, so example 1 is type 1, example 2 that I've gone through is type 2 and so on, you can do that. Or once you've done all of them, you can get a mixture of the 4 different types of question where I don't tell you what kind of question it is, and it's good practice just on that topic. That's it. I hope it's useful. I'll put a link to that video in the description as well. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.